And welcome to Netflix and Kill. Oh my god, Travis, I am so excited today.
Why is that?
Because we have an actual in-studio audience slash guest crossover.
I was going to say they're not really an audience.
Because, of course, we are always present. Me being Nick, the Merc with a mic, and my friend, my co-host, my buddy over there, Travis,
Hi.
God of the Pod himself. We also have some lovely guests today. Who is on the mic with us? Well, I'll let them introduce themselves. We're
the AA Battery Gamers.
Yeah.
My name is Asheltron.
I'm Ari.
So you are the AA Battery Gamers.
Yes,
Yes,
that name
we
that
are.
you constantly mess up,
Yeah,
no matter what you say.
Pretty much.
I just wanted to know because if you're the AAA Battery Gamers, I would never be able to find your YouTube channel. I'm assuming you'd always be in this drawer that I never use.
Yeah.
So okay, that makes sense. So if one would want to watch your work, you do Let's Plays and stuff on the YouTubes.
Yes.
Is that okay? And then your YouTube channel is just the name then, AA Battery Girls,
Gamers.
AA Battery Gamers.
He'll never not do that, you know.
I know. He's never gonna let us live that down.
I think of you as the girls that I met that have the AA Battery name. That is your moniker. That is how I know you.
Back at DaishoCon.
30 years from now, when we will always be the AA Battery Girls.
when we're old and ripe.
On your deathbed.
Wow, I would never use the term ripe, but I'm glad you did, Ash. So that's great.
Ripe old age. No, you can find us on just under put AA Battery Gamers in the search, because we've been saying AA, but people have confused it and put in the word double and then A and so
It's 2 A's, no double.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking that maybe we should just change it to make it easier.
Or is it but which is like the positive and negative? Do you
Yes.
now? Or God, do I need like a special lithium battery? Damn it! See,
No,
this is what makes it all confusing, Ash.
No, you just need a rechargeable battery.
Anyway, what do we?
Actually, maybe just call yourself the 9 volts. That just makes everything easier. You don't need more than one 9 volt.
Anyway, what the fuck are we talking about today? We're talking the Netflix series Troll Hunters.
Beneath your feet, there is a secret world. A vast civilization where good trolls live and evil trolls lurk. For centuries, these lands have been protected by one warrior.
Give me the amulet, Troll Hunter.
I'd rather die. The amulet will find a champion.
Hello?
Master Jim! You have been chosen.
Jim, you are now responsible for the protection of 2 worlds, human and troll alike.
But if you do not protect us, Hula and his army will destroy your world.
Flying truck!
I knew you had potential.
You have a sweet voice, but you bring death with you.
The fight is within you. Are you ready? The Amulet of Daylight challenges you to ascend to the most sacred of offices. For you, Master Jim, are the Troll Hunter.
So there's nowhere to go but up.
We should begin your training.
Now I have 2 lives to keep up.
Who are you, Jim Lake?
You've got a great lift.
There is nowhere to run, Troll Hunter.
Do your worst.
Not to be mistaken for Troll Hunter.
Not for Troll Hunter, which is also a badass film, but you will not. It's not the same. It's,
There's more than one Troll Hunter in this one.
Don't let your kids watch the Norwegian Troll Hunter. But yes, a very interesting series that you guys actually turned me on to. I'm not sure which one of you mentioned it
I
first.
did.
You did? Okay, so it was Amanda that was introduced me to it, and I ended up watching it. It is a series created by Guillermo del Toro of famous, horror movie, kind of like monster movie fame with Pan's Labyrinth. He made the Hellboy movies. So a very interesting.
He had a hand in the Hobbit movies too.
So would
then now the new movie will want to fuck a fish.
Yeah. Fish sticks in the movie.
Fish dick. Fish dick. Hashtag fish dick.
Oh, that just said fish sticks.
She did say fish sticks. But Nick hears what he wants to hear. It's the whole Freudian slip thing.
No, I knew she said...
I love fish sticks.
I knew she said fish stick. She was just wrong. And so would one of you like to give a quick synopsis of what Troll Hunters is actually about?
Okay. So Troll Hunters is about a teenager who's apparently a perfect angel boy that gets up early to make breakfast for his mom.
He is the best son in the entire world.
He really is. I mean, it's only because his mom is a nurse working night shifts all the time.
Yeah. So anyway, he finds this magic amulet and gives him magic armor and sword, and he becomes the Troll Hunter.
Yeah, and he turns out to be the first human troll hunter of all species.
Because trolls are just a little bit racist.
They are.
Guess. Yeah.
Well, they're old and...
Because they're old. That forgives
they're
everything.
Old and grouchy.
Yeah.
That's what my mom says about my grandpa.
Your mom would say that.
So yeah, it's basically this kid's adventures trying to adjust to this new world because they discover like this troll market even underneath this bridge. There, I'm like, oh yeah, this doesn't remind me of Hellboy at all.
Yeah.
It's like the cool part of Hellboy 2 where they find that troll market.
Yeah.
Only if they made a whole show about it.
I feel like Guillermo del Toro tries to put a troll market in everything he makes.
He likes markets.
Hey, that's
and trolls.
I think that's the end of The Shape of Water, is that they end up having the fish man go to the troll market, and he meets up with Fish Sabian, Abe Sabian is like, what the fuck, man?
And he finds fish sticks.
And he finds fish sticks, yes. Man, next time I go to a restaurant, it is going to be uncomfortable asking for some fish fries.
Well, especially if you go to a Red Lobster.
Well, then I'd be asking for lobster dicks. And that's just my regular. That's just my regular order. Anyway,
Crab dick.
I find this series very interesting, and in the way that most of the time it is a very standard, CG animated family show.
Yeah.
And then there's times when it's not.
There's some times where it's very anachronistic, which actually keeps me very invested because it makes me wonder, like, whoa, holy shit.
Yeah.
One of the things is that there's some sudden deaths on this show.
It really is.
The show starts off with the original Troll Hunter, the previous Troll Hunter being murdered, like, pretty brutally.
Well, no, he commits suicide.
Yeah. He just gives himself up.
Yeah, it's and he's murdered by the bad guy who's played by Ron Perlman. I wonder how he got the role.
It's that big chin, I'm telling you.
So, and yeah, the main actor here, Jim, is being played by Anton Yelkin.
The late great.
Yeah, but apparently he did record his dialogue for season 2, so I'm not sure if they'll just wrap it up at season 2 or if they will try.
You mean season 3?
What's that?
You mean season 3 or however the fuck they do this? Because...
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about that for just a minute.
Yeah.
So this show is about 26 episodes long. Is that about right? The first season.
Yeah, the first season.
First season is. So the first season, while it is 26 episodes long, it's actually like 2 13-episode seasons.
Yes.
Mixed together.
And they just don't say it that way, but it clearly is.
Episode 14 starts off the way a season 2 show would, with a whole recap of the premise of the show. Like, it recaps, like, goes like, here's all the characters, here's what they're doing now, and here's how everything works again. And I'm just like, this is the same season, right? I was so confused because it makes me think that this show must not have been made for Netflix first. It must have been made for another network first and must have sat on a shelf for a little bit. Yeah, because the delineation is super weird between... And the animation style budget goes up. There's more people in the background. There's, like, people in the town.
Yeah. It was actually originally meant to be a movie.
Oh, okay, I can see that. I can actually see that totally.
Yeah. Hey, we also have a storyboard artist friend we know who works for DreamWorks who actually did some character design for this series.
Really?
Yeah.
Very cool. So yeah, the character design is also pretty neat too, because we meet Jim not only becomes the troll hunter, but gets his whole side crew. He has Kelsey Grammer playing Blinky, who basically, who is his trainer, is like he's the kind of the nerdy one.
Kind of useless too, to be honest.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
They come up like, hey, we're here to help you. Like, great, help me fight this monster. And Blinky's like, ooh, I'm more the trainer type guy. I'm not really into the whole combat sort of thing. And then we have the big dude.
It's like, what do you think you're training for?
What's his name? He's Arg, right?
Yeah,
he's just
Arg.
Like, he's actually the gruttle sound Arg is his name. And he's being played by Fred Tatasciore. I don't know how
Same
you pronounce
voice actor for Soldier 76.
Yes. And sometimes I can hear that, like, weird growl in his voice. But I need healing. Arg, need healing.
I have you in my sights.
I'm sorry. When I think about Soldier 76, I think about that really old gas station sign 76. That big rotating ball.
Sure.
Because that was 76.
So yeah, he ends up being a pacifist, so Jim has to take on most of the combat himself.
Yeah.
He does have his friend, who is... Toby, yes.
Tobes.
The Tobster. Tobes man. Who's being played by... Who is he being played by again? Charlie Saxton, that's right. And they have Claire, who is, of course, the love interest to Jim, who is actually a Hispanic character, which is cool. I did not realize that for a long time.
No, me neither.
Because all the character designs are neat, everyone looks distinctive, everyone looks pretty white. Like, there's not really...
like, there's one seems like, I like avocados. I'm like, well, you could just be a millennial then. Fuck if I
like... Like, did feel like it was supposed to be the big tip-off, like, yeah, her family Hispanic. I'm like, because they like avocados, really?
Yeah, come on. They could like guacola for all we know.
But then again, her little brother is Enrique, which she's the only one that pronounces it that way. So I'm like, okay.
Enrique.
I got you. And she's being played by Lexi Murdano. And or Madrano, I can't remember how to pronounce that name. So yeah, not a whole lot of big name actors in here, but I will say the late Anton Yelkin, he was a great actor. His voice acting, especially in the first season, could use a little work. Jim comes off pretty stiff in the first season, in my opinion.
Well, that also is not helped by the animation in the first season either.
The animation, they're working with an obviously limited budget, and by that I mean, like, there's hardly any people in the background shots. A lot of the stuff does happen at night, but you'd figure, there's no cars driving around, everything feels very empty and static.
Well, they also have this 3D animation they're using for this.
Yeah, and I'm not a super huge fan of 3D animation.
Like, it does get better as the show goes on.
It's definitely not the worst I've seen, for sure. It's no Beware the Batman, and where it's just like it pisses me off of how poor the animation is.
I do have a really huge appreciation for animation, being the big animation nerd I am, but I grew up on 2D animation.
Yeah, so the main thrust of the story is them trying to prevent this really bad troll from coming back.
Bular's dad.
Gunmar. And Gunmar is bad news. Gunmar is bad news.
He is.
There's this whole myth and lore of this whole war that happened previously. Arg actually turns out to be one of the lieutenants on the other side, which was very interesting. Comes back later in the show. There's a lot of stuff that are actually a little more nuanced and goes in depth a little more than I thought the show would, especially when it hits the second half of the first season, or whatever we're going to call it. So
let's not forget, so Ron Perlman's playing Bular, so who's his dad played by then?
I'm not actually sure. Did they?
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown?
Yes. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Wow.
I actually didn't recognize his voice. Well, Gunmar, so rarely we
he showed up in 2 episodes, I think.
That makes total sense.
Right?
I like that a lot. kind of drew you guys to the show? Like, what makes you think the show kind of stand out?
Well, Ari here convinced me to watch it in the first place.
And I heard it from one of the board artists, Joanne Matt, which I'm a big fan of. Was posting stuff about it on her Twitter and stuff.
Oh,
That's how I found out about it.
Yeah, she's got some really amazing storyboard sketches of
the characters. And,
all the characters really.
She drew like some cute fan art of them too, just hanging out.
Yeah.
Like Toby giving Arg a bunch of star stickers.
Yeah. So we basically just started watching it and we didn't stop until the end of the season. Mm-hmm. And because there were a lot of oh shit moments.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because they introduced this subspecies of gnomes, which they treat as pests, but they also murder them like.
My God, I knew I never loved...
And they look like tiny old men.
Yeah, literally the classic guard gnomes, and they also make them seem kind of sentient to a point where also it's like, they keep killing them, and I'm like, stop killing these semi-sentient beings, please. It's kind of messed up.
Well, one becomes their friend later.
Yeah.
I knew there was a reason I never liked my grandparents' yard gnomes.
Yeah, they also have, like, razor-sharp teeth and giant horns.
Yeah, I mean, don't let those things get to your faces. They'll chew it right off. Like,
Yeah, so the whole story also revolves around what are called changelings, which are like half trolls that are
can shapeshift into humans.
Yeah, which are a very dark. If you know your fairy tale mythology, they're a very dark part of like fairy tale lore.
Yep.
Of like replacing children at birth and all that. One such changeling is the principal of the school, Strickler, who is a interesting kind of character that seems to shift alliances to whatever suits his needs at the time. We have Steven, or Steve, played by Steve Yoon of Walking Dead fame, and he's
a fucked up character.
He is such a dick.
Yeah, he is.
Like there's a whole episode later where everyone faces their own fears, and like they face their own weird versions of like what they're most afraid of. And Steve's version of like his nightmare is a bunch of like everyone else he sees are also him. His biggest fear is that he is no longer special.
And he's also the bully of the school.
And then after that whole thing is done, when he finally snaps out of it, the first thing he does is shove somebody into a locker. He learns nothing from any of his experiences.
No, not even when he gets a tooth knocked loose.
I mean, it makes me go to Jim, like there's that whole homecoming story arc where Jim wants to become a homecoming king, and he's trying to beat Steve, and the point where Steve comes up to the place your hand on a truck, which I'm not even sure why that is a challenge to begin with for homecoming king. I maybe it didn't work. It doesn't work the same as when I went to school, but yeah, he's like, you don't even know. I'm wearing an adult diaper right now. So I'm facing down someone who's willing to wear an adult diaper to win a contest.
So that's when you put your hands up in the air away from the car and just back up slowly.
Look, okay,
yeah.
You're obviously invested way too much into this, and I'm out. Okay, it's yours. Take it, psycho.
Except he ended up does not win that one anyway because Eli wins that challenge, which is his the nerd he bullies.
Sure. Then even he cheats in a weird way too, because the person that's watching the challenge is leaves, and I'm like, well, then what the fuck is the point of the challenge if no one's going to keep track of it? And then he tries to knock Jim off of the thing while keeping his hand on, and I'm like, why are you even bothering keeping your hand on? You're already cheating.
Right.
Just take him and kick his ass and get him out of there. It makes no sense. Don't bully right. Do your bullying right.
Yeah.
He's a really bad bully.
He is. Nobody actually takes him seriously, and I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up, Steve. We got, actual real shit to deal with.
But I do actually give Steve and his bullying a little bit of credit, because even when he gets his tooth knocked out and he's got this whistle to his talk, that does not faze him. He still keeps bullying.
Yeah.
And that his list actually does stay around for quite a few episodes.
It
Oh, yeah.
does.
I do like the fact that Claire is an inconsistent character in the first part of season 2, because she's like, you know what, it's good that you stood up to Steve, but then when he stands up to Steve later and punches him in the face because Steve won't leave him alone.
No,
it's like,
I think it won't leave her alone in that one.
Yeah, that's right. He was that's right. He was facing off with her first, and Jim was like, "Hey, back off, buddy." And it altercates, and it escalates, and Jim does punch him, but it's like, I can't believe you did that. Like, bullying is never the right answer. And it's like, oh, so I should stand up for myself, but I should let him punch me in the face. Thanks, Claire. You're amazing. Great friend.
You guys remember, like, one of the first times we see Steve bullying that computer nerd, Matthew. And yeah.
Well, I always think it's going to be a bigger part of the story, but never ends up being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I laughed when I heard Jim like really stand up to Steven and say, you know what, you can keep this up because one day you are gonna be fat and bald and broke, and Matthew here is gonna be a computer genius.
Was Eli he was talking about.
Oh, Eli.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was talking about Eli, yeah.
Where did I get Matthew?
I have no idea.
I'm not sure who Matthew is.
I thought his name was Matthew. Okay, so he anyways, he goes, Eli will be a computer genius and a billionaire. And Eli is stuffed in the locker and says, I love computers!
So, can we talk about Claire for a minute?
Sure.
I think we just were,
Yeah,
but...
Yeah.
Claire sucks until the halfway to the
Yeah.
season, right? Doesn't she? Am I
Yeah.
the only one? Yes. So I understand that she's mad with Jim, and I get that. Most of the time, she comes off like, okay, Jim keeps flaking on her, and
they play the whole secret identity thing,
which is stupid because in the opening credits it shows her as part of the team fighting with the rest of them, so you know, that doesn't last. So there's not really any tension for it. So I don't understand why they're taking so long to reveal the secret identity to her.
Yeah, I mean, like when they show her fighting along with everybody, why not just take her out of that image until she's officially fighting along with them?
Yeah, it's just lazy animation style, and it pretty much ruins any tension of like, well, she's gonna find out. Maybe not this episode, but she will. So I don't really care if this ruse works or not. And she does this thing where like, could you help me, babysit my little brother so I can go to a concert? And of course, Jim says like, yeah, not realizing like, he's already been replaced by a changeling already.
Which is like one of my favorite characters, that changeling.
Not Enrique.
And not Enrique? I do love not Enrique. So, but then she goes with fucking Steve.
Yeah.
What? And it's like, I had tickets to the concert. No, you've already stated in the previous episode that you think Steve is an unbelievable douche.
Because he is.
Yeah.
And he's a really bad human being, but you're like, yeah, I'll hang out with him because I like this band. Wow. Not winning a lot of points with me this episode, Claire.
Kind of shallow.
Yeah.
And she comes back and is, of course, mad with Jim because the house got messed up and everything.
Yeah,
It's like,
it got trashed.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, you can only be but so mad because it was your responsibility to watch Enrique and you fucked off to go to a concert.
Yeah.
So she gets a lot better when she gets let in on the she has the same problem that Iris does in the first season of The Flash. Everyone just hates Iris in the first season of The Flash because no one wants to tell her shit, which just makes her act really like dumb because she's not in on what everybody else is in on, knowledge wise.
Right.
Yeah.
So as soon as she actually gets part of the crew and actually gets like a weapon to use and stuff in like the second part of the season, awesome. Love her as a character.
Yeah.
She turns around almost completely.
Yeah.
Toby is a fun character as well as the best friend. Every once in a while his shtick can get a little too over the top.
Yeah.
But overall I think he's a great addition to the team.
And he and Arg become wingmen.
Yes, that is a great relationship that I like a lot.
Yeah. It really helps with Arg's and trying to maintain being a pacifist.
When he was originally so violent. But
Yeah.
so yeah, they actually wrap up the main plot like by the end of the 13th episode. Their main goal is accomplished. They have beaten off most of the changelings. Strickler's still around, but he's had to change up his game plan, which just makes them summon a new troll, which is like this mummy troll for the last half of the season.
And he is awesome.
He is.
This guy
is pretty cool.
This guy is cool. Like he's like, we have Bular, and he's the Ron Perlman, so he's pretty cool. But he's got the standard abilities like all the other trolls.
One note.
Yeah.
I'm evil.
What's the name of the?
I'm trying to please my father.
What's the name of this guy again?
Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat.
Yeah.
So Angkor Wat has a bunch of really neat abilities because he's like this cursed mummy troll that has like a staff that can make portals. He's got the whole like these rock totems to create monsters with, like a
Golems.
Rita, like a Rita Repulsa type thing of like make my monster grow.
and he can use his eyeball for spying.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like he can spy with like parts of his body, which is great.
Did that just seriously come straight out of real monsters?
Yep. So yeah, Strickler teams up with him and like gets this control,
or just forced him to work for him.
Yeah,
and he's running a razor's edge between that. Because him and Jim are having like this open conflict now that Jim knows who and what he is, which is a great reveal too of like him trying to keep that from his mom. Where they have a great fight scene in the first part. Remember when they first got
awesome.
And they're like trying to keep the cover when his mom sees them. And
like the part where he's trying to catch the peas before it falls off the table.
Yeah,
while still trying to look badass.
Yeah.
So yeah, the latter half of this season really picks up for me, and I'm like, oh, this is some really neat stuff going on here.
Well, there's also some really cool fight scenes with Angkor Wat.
Yes. Like the actual fights that happen, especially near that end season, where they rally the troll market to fight him off. There's some really cool stuff that happens over there.
Now, how about that one changeling who starts off as the museum curator?
Oh, so that was an interesting one too, because I went to Travis as we were watching, and I'm like, why do I think that chick's a vampire?
Like, immediately his first reaction is evil character. I'm like, how do you know? Oh wait, she's evil. Never mind.
Look at her character design. She is designed with those angles and stuff that make her look
that crazy narrow eyes going.
Yeah, I'm like, she's a vampire.
You weren't 100% right about it, but you were pretty close.
All right, and yeah, they have this whole reminds me of the goblin narrative that they have.
Oh, yeah.
Where they just murder goblins left and right.
Like they just squish them like frogs.
Yeah, they just go splat into green goo.
The first time it happens when one of them gets run over by a car, it's like shockingly horrifying.
Yeah.
And I laughed for a good 5 minutes afterwards. And it was just like, man, that's amazing.
And kind of fucked up.
Oh, it's the creep-filled kind.
Like when they find out that they might attack Eli, and they're like, nope, he's gone, we gotta go. Like, but he's our classmate, like, sorry, just forget about him. He's dead.
Yeah,
oh my god.
There are some more episodes, like Monster of the Week episodes in here too, with some lesser villains and stuff that are interesting, but they don't really move the plot forward. One of the things that I also think that they get better with in the second half is that in the first half they get pretty inconsistent about how the rules work between
the amulet.
Oh, the amulet. Let's see about this amulet. Okay, so
you want to talk about bending rules.
So he can't really get rid of this. I don't want to be the troll hunter, so he tries to get rid of the amulet, throws it away. Oh, the amulet flips back and comes at him again, and is like, oh, so he can't abdicate his responsibilities because the amulet will always come back to him, except for when it gets stolen later. Because if the amulet gets stolen, then it won't come back to him. I'm like, okay, that seems like an arbitrary rule, but whatever. Cut to 7 episodes later, where I guess we just forget about that rule because the amulet gets stolen and it doesn't come back, and it does come back to him in the fight scene when he needs it. And I'm like, what the fuck? Just pick a rule and stick with it. I mean, I get that it's magic and I don't understand the rules to begin with, but if you're going to establish a rule, stick with it. Stick with the rule.
Maybe there's some untold rule about it at magic. I
think the amulet's just a dick.
Yeah. That's magic usually is a dick from my experience.
That is just from my personal experience with amulets.
Yeah.
I mean, the voodoo dolls I try never seem to work, but it's fine. It's fine.
Holy shit, you're into voodoo?
Well, not anymore. It didn't work.
Look, I own a broom, and that whole snitch bullshit, and all fake. Not nearly as easy to catch that thing.
You know how hard it is to summon Satan?
Unbelievable.
I get Santa every time.
No, I wanted Santa! Ho, ho, ho!
So yeah, and then the second half they also open up to like more areas of like the world. They go to the swamp area at one point.
Florida.
Yeah, and because now they can teleport between they introduce this whole like underground system of transportation, which was apparently never useful before. Like, and I was like, really? Like, now you're going to tell me that we have these almost instantaneous transportation devices? I can't imagine there couldn't have been any other scenarios in the first part of the season where that would have been useful.
Nah.
But fine.
Yeah. Let's just come up with this and go with it.
Also, there's the Troll Hunter's son comes into it too.
Oh,
The original
yeah.
Troll Hunter, whose name is
Drawl.
Drawl. Forgive me, they all have these weird troll
Yeah.
names that are really hard for me to remember. So Drawl has an interesting arc too, where he's very, he's upset that he did not get chosen for Troll Hunter like his dad did, and that it went to this human. So he, fights with Jim, to the point where Jim has to like basically prove himself to him. And then when Jim defeats him in a fight, which of course are to the death, because that's how all fights like that work. And yeah, I like his arc where he's like, I'm going to train you reluctantly because I need to make sure that you're stronger, to the point where they actually become like pretty good friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, they practically become brothers.
Well,
Yeah.
he starts living in Jim's
His basement.
basement.
Yeah, they take an arc where I'm like, okay, I thought Drawl was going to disappear once his arc was done, like most other shows, where I'm like, okay, we'll never see his ass again. Or maybe he'll show up in a couple episodes. No, he becomes a mainstay rotating member of the cast, who also gets a pretty messed up moment at the midpoint finale that we won't spoil, but it was definitely interesting to see him, work his way into the story and become very relevant.
It's also interesting that Kanjigar, his dad, the previous Troll Hunter, at least in the first episode, is credited as being Tom Hiddleston.
Really?
Yeah. Just the first episode, though.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I did not catch it. Then they kind of have the whole arc of like ancestors, all the previous Troll Hunters that they can that they can like access, and that's in season like the later half of the season, right?
Yeah.
As well, right? Yeah, I like the fact that everybody gets like even the side characters get to be not just sidekicks; they get to be part of the team. Like Claire gets the staff, the teleporter staff. Toby gets the weird hammer.
Yeah.
That he can change the density or the
He like
gravity
passed a
of.
curse onto it so he can actually lift it.
I remember that too because when he was choosing weapons or whatever, and there were all these different weapons, and I was like, that hammer is way more designed and uniquely designed than every other weapon
It's
here.
visually distinctive.
Yeah. Which is weird because I'm like, I almost know that it almost has to be his weapon just because of the design of it. And yet I don't know how it's going to work because he can't use that. And then they kind of, that whole episode is him getting the ability to use it because of this, what was it? It was the gravity.
Yeah, it was a curse that kept like making it so you're heavy or light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. I do love that every time that I'm thinking they're going to use the trope, like there was that whole time stop episode where, we're going to use this thing to stop time, but we can only do it 3 times. Oh, I just used it twice. You can only use it once. So I'm thinking, oh my god, he's going to use it for such a stupid reason. And he's going to...
does.
Well, he almost does, because, like, the reason he activates it is to save Claire, and then when he realizes, like, oh crap, I only have, like, an hour to get this thing, to do this, so he, grabs he grabs that, and he takes care of a couple other things, too, and some things that he needs to take care of, which if, like, Blinky is about to turn back into a Krull.
Oh yeah, he was turned human.
Also, he was turned human at a certain point.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the stuff there like, I thought this was going to be way dumber than it ended up being. So there's a lot of things that they avoid that point. There's a point in the very end of the season where they do something regarding his mom's character that I am not a fan of. That I think is not, that was totally them not avoiding one of those tropes that I'm not a fan of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he has a very interesting relationship with his mom anyway, because again, he's the he's the one that actually makes breakfast. He takes care of the house. She's always so busy being a doctor that, like, there's a later point in the season where she tries to, like, set her foot down, like, no, I am your mother and you'll do what I say. And it's like, it doesn't work because she has, like, no control over him because he's pretty much independent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also like these sounds. The soundtrack of the show is also pretty competent. Every once in a while, like there will be a fight scene where like what was it, like that old classical music played during that museum fight scene for like no reason.
Yeah, that was in the halls of the Mountain King.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, I've heard that song played in so many other scenarios, and they use it for this.
Well, it's like it would be one thing if it was if someone was playing it on a piano in the scene, like,
sure.
maybe, but they're just in a museum, and I'm just like, where's this music coming from?
Yeah.
Like that's all I can think of. Just like, is this playing over the speakers? What's happening?
Not to mention the changeling Jim's fighting actually whistles it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting like character thing for her to do, but that was a weird way to introduce it.
Kind of.
Yeah, well, anyway, we've been talking about quite a bit. I think we can go over our overall feelings so that we can go into a spoiler section and kind of want to talk about the ending real quick.
Yeah.
But before we do that, I'll give you guys a chance to, we do a number rating usually for us. I rate out of like a 5 scale. Travis rates out of a 10. It's totally arbitrary, just like basically how you feel about it. If you go, I'll start. Then I'll show you how it's done. Show you youngins.
Okay.
So for me, I liked this season. I'm confused about how to rate it because it is so obviously 2 seasons smushed together.
Right.
So I wish I could rate them both separately because I feel like the first season's going to get a lot of cred off of the second part of it.
Right.
So, but as long as they're lumped together like that, I guess I will rate it that way. So, Angkor Wat is awesome. He's a great, cool character that I like. He changes up the plot in a significant way. He's a very active villain, and he's cool. Strickler is a neat, nuanced, other like sub-villain that is, his alliances are very Loki-like in that I don't know which way he's gonna fall on certain things. Jim, while being a pretty stereotypical hero, does well enough to where I don't I don't hate him. He's not awful or anything. He's no Keith from Voltron.
Oh my god.
You guys not Keith fans either?
Not quite.
Okay, I thought it was just us. I thought it was just me and Travis who hate Keith.
I don't mind him, but I'm not too crazy about him either.
Yeah. I gotta admit,
I was so happy that I left in the... What was it, the 4th season?
Whatever the most recent one.
Yeah, he left.
Good.
Yes!
You never come back.
No, I'm crushing over Shiro.
That anime hair, man.
That scar.
Sexy nose scar.
Yes, he's a cutie badass.
Anyway, so yeah, Jim is fulfilling his function. I really love his sidekick / sub characters. Toby, Claire, Drawl, Arg, Blinky are all very fun, vibrant characters that are very distinctive. The show animation quality gets better over time. I'm still not super crazy about the 3D animation, but for this show, it very much works because half of the cast are these stone-looking type character creations, so it kind of works in that favor. Guillermo del Toro has a very inventive mind when it comes to, say, the troll market and how it works, and the general status of the world. You get a cool, world-building feel off of it. I really enjoy the show, which makes me sad that sometimes it does not avoid the tropes, the obvious tropes that it some of the other times it so deftly avoids.
Yeah.
Sometimes it really goes down like a path that I'm like, really? You couldn't have done something a little more inventive when so much some of the dressing around this was inventive. Like the main plot can't be a little more than just the generic way that the generic hero's journey that it goes down. But overall, it's still super fun. I think if this is your type of thing, if you got kids, this is definitely a show to pop on.
Yeah, sure.
But just be careful of some of the more emotional deaths that we might talk about in the spoiler section.
It does get dark.
Anyway, we'll kick it to Ash. What do you think about it?
I like using a 10-point scale. I didn't
even give him my rating. 4 out of 5, by the way. 4 out of 5.
You know, I mean, I didn't notice nearly as much about it as you did, Nick, but I pretty much feel the same way as you do. Like, I'm a fan of Guillermo del Toro, but
Are you saying I overanalyze things? How dare you? No one has ever mentioned that.
well, gee, maybe I shouldn't even try complimenting.
I'm very sensitive. No, go on.
But I do enjoy the series overall. It did have some pretty dark moments, but also very intriguing. And like I said, I love the mummy troll. Like
Angkor Wat's cool.
Yeah, I can never keep the name straight. You know how you hear people say, "Oh, I'm terrible with names, but I never forget a face." That's like. Yeah, I'm the same exact way.
Well, one of them's just named Arg.
Well, yeah.
This is hard.
Yeah.
Okay?
He is the easiest one for me to remember. But no, I really love the relationships that come up between like Drawl and Jim and Arg and Toby. Like Toby shows him video games for crying out loud. Like a
That's pretty
sushi
adorable.
game. Yeah, that is pretty adorable. And when something bothers Arg, he kind of retreats to that, and it's great. But yeah, I did enjoy the museum changeling. I mean, I went crazy when I heard the In the Hall of the Mountain King song. I was like, what? Why? Because I actually enjoyed that song, and I actually used that song in a separate video I was making based on my college diploma works. But overall, I think I could give this season a solid 7.9.
All right. That is very specific. Well, a math problem.
and I'm not by no means a mathematician. I just know enough to get by.
How about Ari? I'm very interested to hear what your overall thoughts are.
Like Ash said, I really love the relationships between the characters, and like between Claire and not Enrique, how they develop like a sibling relationship.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my personal favorite is the obvious homoerotic tension between Steve and Elliot, but
it's definitely there.
Could just be me. So anyway, go on.
Yeah, I do love I love the characters and the story and the lore and all that stuff. I'm not really as, intricate as you guys, but yeah.
You'll get there.
Yeah. We're learning.
Yeah. Well, overall,
just use some words use some big words and you sound a lot smarter. Use narrative, pacing.
Yes, I love the narrative
structure. There you go.
Structure.
See, you learn it already.
Big words.
The
more syllables, the better.
Blah, 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 big words, mustache.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot of, kids show cliches, like we gotta save the world, but the prom is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I don't have a prom date! Is that a pimple?
Yeah, anyway, I'd give the show like a 8.2.
Wow.
8.2 sexually ambiguous mascots out of 10.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Look, we're going to get to that in the spoiler section because that's a spoiler, all right?
Is it now?
I have been biting my tongue like crazy on the spoilers.
Okay. So it's my turn then?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty much going to
Anyway, that's good. We're out of time.
Travis like, fuck you!
Isabella, attack!
Yes! That just went right past my face. I didn't even see it.
That's great. You know what works on audio? Visual gags.
That's all right.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm going to echo a lot of the sentiment we've heard here already. I actually not only like the interactions between the main characters and each other and the sub-characters, but Strickler is a really interesting character to me. Like, his relationship not only with Jim, but with Bular and Jim's mom is just kind of like, I never know where you're going, and that makes the show way more entertaining. Because sometimes it's like, should I do the smart thing or should I do the vindictive thing? Ooh, I can't make up my mind.
I love how petty
he's a little
Strickler and Jim get.
He does get a little petty at times, and I kind of love it. Overall, though, like, this show does have its cliches. Its first half season, whatever, is, like Nick said, pretty generic hero's story, but
the prom is tomorrow.
But the prom is tomorrow.
Yes.
Prom is always tomorrow.
But they do keep it very fresh by having this interesting world where deaths happen on a whim just because we need to have shock value of like, hey, look, that creature just died, even though they're sentient enough to form a pack, but fine. It's definitely a fun show, though. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
All right. Well, with that, thank you guys for listening. If you want to check out some of our back catalog on Netflix and Kill, we can find us on the UGO Podcast on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at UGO Podcast or on Facebook at Unapologetic Geek Out. Or if you want to just email us at unapologeticgeekout@gmail.com, you can do so as well. Give us some suggestions of what to watch on Netflix or who to do some reviews with. Girls, where can the people find you?
Well, we're on YouTube with the AA Battery Gamers, and we post all of our social media links at the in the descriptions of all of our videos, so you can just find us there, and links are right there in the videos.
Keeping it simple. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a small musical break, and we'll be back with the spoiler section right after this. Alright, welcome back to the spoiler section of Netflix and Kill, talking about Troll Hunters. So, what should we spoil first, guys? What's our main thing? I think we gotta start with the biggest thing, first and foremost. Who is that purple otter? Or whatever no, it's a mole, right?
Yes.
A mole?
Oh, yes.
It's a mole. Okay, so it's this purple mole.
Some ground vermin.
That Toby is very into because he can tell through its sensuous movements that it is a female.
Or he might not care at all whether it's male or female.
Look, I'm not gonna lie.
It might be asexual.
This plot line makes me super uncomfortable.
It's really weird.
It makes me think that Toby wants to have a romantic interest or something in the show. It makes me think that Toby just wants to fuck a mole.
He might be a furry.
He is a furry.
He wants to whack a mole.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I'm not sure what the show is trying to say here to me. But, alright. Anyway, it turns out to be one of Claire's friends. I forget her name. But they do meet her at the homecoming dance. And like, oh, okay, yeah, I will dance with you. And it turns out to be kind of a cute moment, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
The lead up to it is just super awkward, though.
Well, they keep doing
like the weird dream thing with
where he keeps seeing her, and then it's like Dreamweaver is playing in the background. It's just like this soft
like
lit.
Eyes Wide Shut.
And like he keeps like, I'm gonna hit that. Like, you don't even know it's a girl, and like they stay with it. He doesn't know it's a girl until eventually they see the mole walk into the women's bathroom. Like, ha, vindication. Like, yeah, but you still wanted to fuck it before that.
Yeah, it's like that doesn't make it any less weird now. But yeah, I really enjoyed how this one wrapped up with the whole Strickler trying to control Angor Rot, and then he gets fucked over by Jim, who like instead of like, well, maybe I can make the deal with Angor Rot, and instead that goes south really bad, and destroys the control rod, so it screws both him and Strickler.
The ring.
Yeah, the ring. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of golems from like Dragon Age. But yeah, so Strickler and him have to team up in a great episode where they basically hunker down and make a fortress. And it's pretty fun watching these two finally team up together, and like because Strickler does seem to have kind of a respect for Jim, at least. So although he did in order to protect himself from Jim,
Tie himself to Jim's mother.
Linked himself physically with the mother, so that anything that happens to him happens to her.
Say, what the shit, dude?
Yeah, it was. It's pretty intense.
And I mean, not only that, but he still has like at least physical attraction to this woman, which makes it a little bit worse.
He does kind of like. It does seem like he kind of likes her. Anyway,
Say sharp dressed troll.
So yeah, Angor-Rat makes a assault on the troll market, and it goes pretty brutally. Like a lot of people get turned to stone because he has that blade, that poison that turns people into stone.
Yep.
And like, there's a couple even sub characters that are talking shit before this fight starts that get murdered pretty violently. It's if like you treat it as like, you know, these sentient creatures are actually dying, that's like it's a slaughter, really.
Actually, kind of reminds me of Hela invading in Thor Ragnarok.
It's
like the Warriors 3 die like bitches.
Oh.
well, even then, like Toby and Claire are all involved in the fight too. They're putting up for it. I think even is not Enrique in that fight as well too.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he even gets mixes up in there. I do love Not Enrique too, like his fluctuating loyalty as well.
He's got that New York accent.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's like Cockney accent because he's like British.
It's right. What? It's right. No, he talks a little like this, like Badger from Firefly.
Yeah.
But
I do love the asshole characters that join the bad guys but still stay assholes.
Yeah, it's interesting that like they keep gaining some of these straggler people that used to be part of the bad guys crew. So yeah, we get a final sacrifice from Arg because he got tagged pretty early in that half the season by one of the Angor-Rat's blades, and so he's been slowly turning to stone this whole time.
Yeah.
But he takes a final blow for Toby because in the previous episode it showed like, oh, we could probably heal him if we took him away to his home home cave system or whatever the hell it was.
Which is way deeper than Troll Market.
So it's like, oh, we could probably take him away and heal him too, and Arg like, no, I'll stay for the fight, and which makes you go like, oh, they've introduced hope that he might live. Well, he's screwed.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he dies, and not in a way like, Toby's tears may bring him back. No, he just straight up dies.
This ain't no Pokemon.
No.
No knockouts here.
So I was like, wow, that is rough, but it inspires Jim to take the fight to Angor-Rat in a way that he can. I loved it. It was the teamwork between almost all three of them, with the Claire creating that portal. And having Toby come in at the last minute to help out Jim, and I think they even turn his own dagger on him. At the last minute. Yeah, so that he turns to stone right before they smash him. So that was a pretty epic way to finish off that fight. It was pretty awesome. They introduced a new element with the mom figuring out who he is, basically because of that whole. She actually shows back up when Strickler and Jim team up during that house invasion, which is the greatest fantasy episode of Home Alone I've ever seen. I was just expecting some paint cans with some spikes on them or something. So she gets
big bar.
She is hurt as well as Strickler because they both get stabbed, and they're both dying. Am I correct on that one? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the only way to save them is to separate their connection and to heal, like in order to heal them. And this will erase her memory
because reasons
of the last couple days, and I'm like, it's so fucking stupid. And the reason it makes me so mad is that the show has been so good about not doing this sort of thing, and it's like that convenient. Oh, I have 3-day amnesia. I'm like, okay, that is just. I realize that it's magic amnesia, sure, but why is that a prerequisite? Also, why does Strickler not have amnesia?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If it's the thing that's healing them both and separating them both, he should also have amnesia. That doesn't make any damn sense. And then she promises him like, hey, like promise me that you'll tell me about this so that I can properly deal with it and that I know what's going on with you. And Jim's like, I promise. And then he doesn't, because otherwise there wouldn't be any point for the amnesia. And I'm just like, but why? Your main concern was that she could not handle it and would not let you do it, or it would put stress on her life. But it showed now like that when she learned about it, she was like, hey, it's messed up. Sure, I'm not sure how to deal with it, but I'm a human being that can deal with situations, and I need you to tell me about this stuff.
And again, if she knew about the information, she might not get hurt next time.
Yeah. Or screw up their plan.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't he know that his mom is perfectly capable of determining her level of mental stress? and what she can deal with.
It's this.
She's a nurse.
It's this thing that I'm really getting sick of in these superhero shows and stuff now, where the secret identity must be maintained at all costs, no matter what the logic is behind it.
Right.
Because I know in the next season, Jim's going to go like, well, I didn't want to tell her because I didn't want her to be in danger or to hurt her. I'm like, she is in no more or less danger than when she doesn't know. In fact, she's in more danger that she doesn't know and can't probably prepare for whatever assault might be on your house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's dumb. That doesn't make any sense.
Like the goblins, for example.
Yeah, it brings me up that whole point of, hey, let's not tell Iris that it buries the Flash for a whole season, even though everyone else on the show knows. Yeah. Like, let's not let slip the Arrow's identity for how long, even though it would make more sense to let people in on it. And yeah, don't go broadcasting your secret identity to everyone.
Like Iron Man.
Didn't work out for him, but overall, like, yeah, tell your friends and family because they might need to know that in a pinch of a situation.
Your people.
Like, say, I don't know, maybe you need to get your parent away from a certain really bad situation, and you don't want to just explain the whole deal to them right in the 30 seconds you need to get them out of the house, which of course happens in this series too, multiple times because we do the same thing with Claire. And it's just like, I don't know, like there's not a whole lot of suspension to it either, because it's like, well, there's no consequence if she finds out. We know that. She found out once before, and it was all right. So now
there's burned down.
So now there's no tension for if she finds out in the next season. When he's trying to hide from her, we know exactly, like, oh man, I hope his mom doesn't find out. Otherwise, she'll be totally cool with it and basically be helpful to him more.
Yeah, except
wait, what?
What do you think's gonna happen? It's like, oh no, there's trolls. Okay, I'm okay with that. Yeah, we also gave him amnesia. Excuse me, what?
Yeah. So if anything, we're rooting for the mom to find out more or less. So for my money, the show made a huge mistake to where it felt like it was like, we don't want to change up the status quo that much and have the mom actually be involved in the adventures.
Like, come on, Guillermo, you're smarter than this.
And it's because it's one of those things that the show doesn't want to give up that tension of like, it's an easy storyline tension of like, oh, he has to balance his regular life with his superhero life or whatever. And like, oh, look, his mom almost found out. Oh, goodness. And it's just like, find a new way to have tension in the show. There's trolls fighting other trolls. There's other sources of conflict in this show that we can go with.
And all the villains know who he is. Like, that's another really important thing is that, everyone knows who he is. It's not all the villains don't like, oh, I'm gonna go after your mother. Oh.
I'm telling!
Yeah. It's one of those things that, like, if I had to pick out one thing, if I could change one thing about the show right now, it would be that right there.
Well, I mean, if you were a villain, who would you go after to hurt this guy? Would you go after the girl with the portal staff, the kid with the giant ass hammer, or the mother who doesn't know shit?
Right.
I'd go after the mother who doesn't fucking know shit.
She's definitely the weak link in the chain there.
Yeah.
But with that, I think we pretty much spoiled pretty much everything I wanted to cover.
Well, I do have one thing, is that as of at least the end of this full season, we still don't know actually if, like, we know that Jim has a mother. We actually don't know anything about his father. And we don't know, because they kind of like hinted at he might be a changeling, or at least part troll. Because they kind of like tease this for like a couple different episodes, and we don't actually know yet, because they have like a really obvious line where it's like, oh, who could be a changeling? Well, it's Strickler. Pfft. Well, if Strickler's a changeling and I'm a changeling. Yeah. And then Strickler is a changeling, so we're like, okay, you wouldn't have that line if it wasn't important.
By the laws of dramatic irony, this must pay off.
Yes. We'll even have like, they have this whole rule where you can't get into Strickler's room without being a changeling, and he never tries. So I'm like, no, try so you can prove that you're a fucking changeling or half troll or something. It's bothersome.
Although he does touch that horseshoe a bunch of times. So.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
Yeah.
Well, that he could still be part troll and not be a changeling. Like his mom could just fuck a troll.
Yeah. There's a couple other things I got.
Oh, also I'm a fan of Drawl's Mecha Hand, very bionic commando.
Yeah.
Also, Draw loses his hand.
Yeah.
That was pretty awesome.
That loses his hand.
Yeah. I like that. Very Mad Max, very post-apocalyptic, awesome mythos of that character. He has like a more of a backstory with the female changeling, it seems like, too.
Yeah. And it turns out Draw loves light bulbs.
Let's see. Like, Blinky had a bunch of things with like his past, troll hunting experiences that were kind of
he got to be a human.
Mm-hmm. So that was a weird.
There's another thing that bothers me. He has where does he get a cell phone in the show?
I'm assuming one of the kids just got him one of their spare cell phones so that they could. So they can keep in contact
just a
with
little
them.
track phone.
Also, does he type smiley faces with 3 colons, so it has 6 eyes?
Yeah, it's like 6 eyes. I don't know, like
that was pretty creative.
Like, what is his meme usage on?
Yeah, you're not exactly going to see any 6-eyed emojis unless they're Troll Hunter specific. But I do give Kelsey Grammer a lot of credit in his acting. Like I was a fan of him since Cheers and Down Periscope and.
Yeah, he's definitely a very fun because Blinky's supposed to be the intellectual, so yeah, you get Frasier to voice the intellectual troll.
I get
it.
And because my dad's name really is Frasier, a lot of people made that reference. Like, oh, I'll just think about the show Frasier. Like, oh yeah, great.
Well, just tell him he can be Blinky from now on.
Yeah. And then I just can't help but think about the fact that have you guys ever seen the old movie with was it Dan Aykroyd and Jack Lemmon in it, My Fellow Americans?
Yes, I believe I've seen that one with Jack Lemmon. I think it was someone else rather than Dan Aykroyd, but I can't remember.
Oh yeah. His name is at the tip of my tongue, and I know him, but and he passed away too. But yeah, he was one of the other presidents, and he actually named his dick Blinky.
Mm-hmm. Blinky,
and it's like my mind went straight to that. It's like, oh.
I don't know. Maybe his dick was a little more intellectual and just like to keep books in the troll
he might
library.
have 6 eyes.
Yeah. Oh god.
I think we can't end it on a better point than 6 eyes penises.
Y'all seeing penis.
You're like a kidnap penis.
But there was one other thing I wanted to point out. It was the goblins and the kind of character and that they take on. Like they, as soon as one of their kind is killed, and their gooey green blood is on something that. References whatever who or whatever is responsible for the killing. I mean, they just go what the chaka.
Yeah, their leader is always defined by a mustache via magic marker.
Yeah,
Interesting.
The evil mustache.
Wonder how that started. I'm not sure. Like, did one of them have a mustache at one point? Was it always drawn on? What is the lineage here?
Wait, wasn't it one of them that actually drew the mustache on?
Yeah,
they just on himself.
Right, but like, where did it come from?
I'm just wondering if because their first one, they had to draw the mustache on himself because the first leader got smushed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, I was wondering if the one that got smushed, if he was the original mustached one, or if he was also a marker and the mustached one was like a way, way far back. One of us had a mustache eventually, and then now we can't grow facial hair anymore.
That's really thinking deep on that.
Again, we will reference my overanalyzing of everything. So,
like when I saw these goblins and their design, I was a bit disappointed from a design aspect because when I think goblin, I think fucking gross and boil filled and
not
gross.
Jelly beans with legs.
Yes, and not these little green spiders with long legs and arms. Saying going around screaming "Wata chaka!" Like
yeah, they were a little more of a visually not as distinctive or creative as some of the other designs were. I'll give you that.
They're supposed to be minions.
Guillermo, you had a hand in making The Hobbit. Come on, you can do better goblins than this.
Well, I mean,
it could be a budgetary thing too.
Yeah,
since they have
I can understand that.
They have to make so many of these goblins. They have to be a little more simplified in their design, I think.
I can see that.
I think there's a reason we see less of them in the later half than we do in the first half.
Yeah.
So with that, I think, we can bring the spoiler section to an end unless anyone had any other last minute stuff to add. No? Any last minute watch-a-chakas?
Waka Chaka.
Wada Shaka. All right.
Well, we didn't mention where we finally saw it, where Enrique was taken to.
We're Enrique. Oh, that's right. The Dark Realm.
Yeah.
Well, that looks like it's going to be more of a part of season 3 than anything else.
Yeah.
Okay.
We only hear about the Dark Realm a lot. Like, we never really get to see it. That's where Gunmar's hanging.
Yes.
All right.
And I assume his army, right? Did his army get sealed away with him?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, his army's still too. All right.
Cyclops!
I'm very interested to see where the season 3 goes, and I can't do that as long as we're sitting here recording this, so I gotta get my fix in. All right, we're an Apology Geek Out, and we're out. Watch it, Chaka!
Watch it, Chaka! Oh, no.